Hey everybody, what the flick? Mad Men, the third to last episode, season 7, episode 12, Lost Horizon.
Lost Horizon.
Yeah. Right. So some of the complaints through the first 3 were, who's Diana? I don't care about Diana. I'm imitating you.
Yeah.
I think I got you perfectly.
Like, yeah, no.
Almost as good as Ferg does Don Draper.
Yeah.
God, that was a great moment. Great TV moment, horrible life moment.
Yes.
But now these last 2 episodes these are our people. These are our people, and this is what's happening to them.
Yes.
A lot of things to go through on this episode. First of all, what do we think Lost Horizon means in this context?
Well, I was thinking about it because there were moments in this episode where I feel like they've gone into the Bizarro world.
Yes.
When they're in McCann, everything that they have to offer seems to be completely crushed or misunderstood or whatever. And I kept thinking alternate universe, and then finally dawned on me, oh no, this is Shangri-La.
Right.
This is the promised land, ostensibly from the outside. This is advertising heaven as the Coca-Cola, as the guy said last week.
Right.
But actually, no, it's a shit show, and they are
with narrow hallways, and no communication, and robotic passes.
Creepy sexists, and the whole 9 yards.
Sounds actually like heaven. If I could, if I could come up with my own heaven, it would be that.
That would be that, right? Narrow hallways and aggressive sexism. So there's no doubt that Joan didn't misinterpret anything from Ferg, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was absolutely it. Pick a weekend. I'm down.
Yeah. Of course I want to get to know you. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then her description, what's the other guy's name? Doesn't matter. Dennis.
Yeah.
But Dennis, he's like, well, of course, look, he's got a wife and 3 kids. He lives in Scarsdale. Can't work for a girl.
That's insane. Those are those things that I'm just like, oh my God, to watch it play out.
And then to see Joan have no options, so she goes to Ferg to complain about Dennis, and I think this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
And then for a brief moment, it looks like it is an okay idea, right?
Sanity might prevail.
Right. And then she goes to Hobart, and then you're like, no, don't do this. Don't tell on Ferg.
Yeah.
I mean, even though, of course, you should tell on Ferg.
Yeah.
Ferg
Love Ferg.
Ferg should not work. Ferg should not be involved with other people, but it's not going to work out for her. And then so instantly at an argument, a discussion with my wife about what was the right thing to do there, because I am unquestionably from the Roger Sterling school. She's like, no, you sue, you make the, and I'm like,
this is like the end of Degrassi where there's the freeze frame. What would you have done?
Right. I'm like, no, it's just the money. It's just the money. You say, okay, no, 70 cents on the dollar, and I walk out.
No, but he's already said I'd rather give it to a lawyer.
And then earlier, but because she stayed, she didn't take the deal.
But then who's going to pay her lawyer? That's the thing.
No, I'm just saying it's just the money. And she ends up taking it. Assuming that Roger can get it for her, I just would have entered in negotiation, and if I couldn't get past 50 cents on the dollar, I'd have taken 50 cents on the dollar. $250,000 in 1970 is like $1 billion. But that said, you ache for her and you want to have a class action lawsuit with.
Yeah, you want Betty Friedan in the lobby.
You're right. Totally. You want the ACLU in that room.
Yeah, I just love the how long we've been seeing Dennis from McCann kind of floating around there, showing up, wanting to hire Dawn. That idea that it's Sterling Cooper's chasing of the ideal. And the ideal for me was the reason I watch Mad Men, which is exactly that experience of people getting drunk in their office in the middle of the day. I remember when I first started watching this show, we had moved into Los Angeles Center Studios, which is where they filmed Mad Men.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember it was a current TV, and we would drink. I got Centauri Times, and I would drink it in the middle of the day and watch them go to lunch. And I thought this was the ideal. It must have been this way everywhere in New York at the time to work.
Day drinking was back.
Day drinking, but then, but now this is kind of pulled the rug out from under everybody, and this is exactly how it is. And I loved the deliberate nature throughout this episode of just like, I'll go to the next.
I've always thought that
the next step.
Deadwood was. Did either of you guys watch Deadwood? I thought Deadwood was the best time and place that I've ever seen in a TV show, where you fully felt like. This isn't the romanticized West of John Ford movies. This is almost certainly what it was like. The streets muddy, they're gross, everyone smells bad.
Everyone's got lice.
You could get killed for anything, and no one's really going to do anything about it, right? And you just felt like you were there. But I think Mad Men has now either replaced it or certainly equaled it. Like, I can't imagine a show doing a better job of taking you to a time. Like, it's just exactly as you said.
And the thing to remember about this, for your whole argument about Joan should sue, let's not forget, it wasn't until the fucking Clarence Thomas hearings in the, late 80s?
Early 90s.
Early 90s, that suddenly people are like, oh, sexual harassment, that's a thing.
Yeah.
That we can, I guess we should talk about that now.
You're right, totally. Yeah. No, I just, you want it. You want a victory for some degree of justice. In the end, I would have taken the money. Like, you gotta, she's got Bruce Greenwood as seems like a decent guy.
Yeah.
And he likes her and he respects her and she can have a super nice life.
As long as she pushes back. I think he falls into a certain pattern of treating her a certain way, and it's only after that she challenges him and says, no, that's not me, then he kind of ups his game.
Yeah,
but that's a really great which I like about their dynamic.
That's almost, that's totally a great observation, but that's essentially the best you could do with guys of this era.
No, totally.
And in fact, we had when Shirley went to Roger and explained why she wasn't going to go to McCann. The great thing is she figured it out. She's like, I'm not going there. Like, this was, but also like a recognition to Roger, like, look, you're not some great crusader for race. You're probably, but you know what? In this era, you're okay.
You're the best I can do. You were amusing.
Yeah, you were amusing.
I miss Shirley already.
Yeah.
Like, that whole scene, I was like, don't go.
Yeah.
We've only got 2 episodes left. Shirley, stick around.
She'll get something. That actress will get something.
Oh, no, she'll be back, but she won't be Shirley anymore.
My favorite moment of the show, by far, and I loved this episode. I mean, it was achy.
Yeah, I watched this episode twice in a row, which I don't think I've ever done.
If I hadn't been the most tired person in America, I could have easily. I totally get that. Was Ted's look?
Yes,
when Don
that was
leaves.
a great moment.
Yeah,
that was great because Ted has still that. What has not changed is he likes Don. He totally respects Don. He envies Don in many ways, and Ted knows right then. He's like, yeah.
Done.
This is not for this guy.
I know that look.
I know that look, and good for him.
Yeah.
Ted's in his snuggie with his hot chocolate.
Ted's like, this is great, man. I got 15 other guys here who can take the heat. I just got to come in here and work and get a paycheck, and it's fine. I'll retire in 10 years.
Now, was there special meaning about the plane going by the Empire State Building?
Just free.
Just
going.
Okay.
And it banked left, west, but but whatever.
It was just like liberation. Yeah.
I mean, you got to figure in some way. Imagine California is where he would.
Yeah, that was the dream that he set up for himself and fell in love with. The same way you fall in love with the dream, which is in the night. He fell in love with this dream, and it's something that can happen. Someone woke him up from it, but he still remembers it.
Right.
And I loved about that scene specifically, like whatever the guy's name is, the head of research, and that whole table full of creative directors. I mean, imagine a movie set with 15 directors.
Totally, yeah.
Every director's like, oh my God, don't you tell me I'm not special.
Yeah.
Right.
I was brought in here because he just was able to throw a noose around a bunch of stallions and create a herd.
And he finds out that he's not even the only one who got the raise it a notch speech.
Yeah,
yeah. So my favorite part of this episode was Peggy and Roger.
Totally. Let's get to. I just want to say one thing about Don before.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Yeah, but no, we'll get to each of them. But yes, a movie set with 15 directors, but Don didn't prima donna it. Again, look, I'm clearly predisposed to loving everything that Don does now, because he's had some growth. We all love growth, and we all want to be able to grow and change and get rid of some of the things that make us, less than we hope to be. But Don, he was just like, I got enough money, and I don't care. He's going to walk away. He gave his $1 million away to Megan. He got whatever he got for his apartment, $85,000. He doesn't care. He's not bought any furniture for this other apartment. He is homeless. He's been living at the plaza, right? Which he doesn't even care about. He's never impressed with stuff at all. And so he's like, I'm just going to go. That's it. I love that, and I loved that all those guys were in their shirt sleeves.
Yeah,
and
there's a shirt sleeve
operation.
But I love the little fits though, the little starts, the little sputterings of the engine, of the McCann engine in Don when he's like, I want to live here. This is the furniture that I want. I felt like in that moment he kind of was like, I'm kind of falling in love with this idea.
This magazine layout is where I belong.
Specifically, that speech that the head of the head director of research gave, which was a very Don speech.
Yes,
a very dreamy, eyes on the horizon.
This man, whatever, doesn't matter what brand of beer it is because he's already chosen it, and there'll be no negotiating that.
Yeah, it's like the same things we saw in episode 1.
Yeah, no, that was totally a
carousel
Don
speech.
Draper speech.
And of course, this is 1970. We're not that far from the incredibly successful and the most memorable ad campaign of my lifetime.
Light beer from Miller, yeah.
Tastes great, less filling. Maybe it was a McCann era campaign. Right?
But also there was something about the shot of all those guys whipping their pens out and taking their notes on their little, reports, where I just thought, this is that moment where Don becomes a dinosaur, where it no longer becomes about taking the client out and filling him up with scotch and, spinning his proposals. Now it's all about market research and, the numbers and Harry Crane and his 15 data crunchers and all that stuff.
I'm not going to let you ruin this moment for me.
This is where the Harry Cranes of the world rise up in advertising, and the Don Drapers and the Roger Sterlings are let out to pasture.
And of course, Harry Crane, with his, bumbling, inept, cruel attempt to get Megan into bed, he'll fit right in with Ferg and Dennis. He'll be very
sick.
All right, so yes,
Roger.
great Roger Peggy.
Yeah, because they've never had a moment together, I don't think, ever on the run of this show. And so the idea, it's that great, lock two characters in the freezer episode of a sitcom, just to have them, there's this free-floating thing, at the office, him playing the organ, her eventually roller skating, downing a bottle of vermouth.
And you saw those roller skates on the floor when she dropped the coffee. Did you see that?
Yeah.
They planted those in there. I was like, what the fuck are roller skates doing here? And then later when she just... that is such good television. That makes you... Yeah, achy was a great way to put it.
Her walking away from the dropped coffee was that was also a great laugh. But, fuck it. So many great lines for her in that. I'm not enjoying this. One for the road. What makes you? And then and the vermouth line. Will you drink vermouth? And he says,
I believe I will.
I believe I will. Sadly, I believe I will.
And the whole thing where Joan is having her struggles at McCann, and then you keep thinking, all right, are they dissing Peggy already, or is this just ineptitude that they don't have her office?
Well, you heard they mentioned to Joan in that scene that that's probably only a matter of time. Yeah. Anyway.
And then they thought she was a secretary, so it's so she's reluctantly sort of hitching her wagon to McCann for a couple years, but it's going to be a nightmare.
It is, although she's loving that beginning. At least she's owning it, and she brought the picture.
Yes,
and she did bring the octopus pleasuring a woman picture.
Yeah, they're like, fuck it, I don't have to not frighten men. I don't care if I do or not.
Yeah, so maybe she'll succede in some.
That's what I caught from that. Is she's like, I will bring the gropey, pervy Japanese, octopus porn. I'll bring that. I'll wear my sunglasses. But there were trappings of. Or they did something that I think they did it on purpose, which was you see her walk in and it's play like Back in Black or something behind her. And then you get those reverse shots where, no one's taking notice.
Right, totally right. They're just walking along, they don't care. Right. Nobody noticed anybody in any of the shots. Nobody looked at anybody.
Yeah, when and in the elevator when Don and Joan talk, no one is really registering them. Only Joan's secretary, registers that Don even is there.
Totally. Yeah. It's
oh God, we've reached a point in this show where the closing song is Space Oddity. It's like, oh God, this is the '70s, all right.
That's right. Don in the car with the hitchhiker. Yeah. I mean, and where are you going? St. Paul. All right, sure.
Yeah, and he didn't have to turn around. It wasn't even like he, at that moment, decided, I'll keep going west.
But look at his fearlessness. He's like, I'll pick this guy, this long-haired hippie, this draft-dodging long-haired hippie, with his guitar. I don't care. I'm going to St. Paul. Take you to St. Paul.
Yeah, what's he doing?
He's got to go west. He's got to go west, but he's got to talk to Sally. They made a big deal about missing Sally on this. So Sally's got, and we got very little Pete, who might fit in there. It might work out for Pete, although the coming up next on Mad Men was a lot of Pete on the phone and a lot of Pete.
Yeah.
So I suspect, I don't know what it is, but I suspect we'll get some Pete too. But Roger's miserable. Joan's gone. Don's gone. Peggy is a question mark. And
walking into a lion's
den.
den.
And that leaves Pete. Those are that's the starting five.
Right.
Ted, whatever.
Yeah.
Ted's a pig in shit at this point.
Right.
He's
Ted just
he's happily anonymous.
Tableau.
Yeah.
Hang on, I took notes. I want to make sure I didn't leave anything out.
How great that Don's secretary turns out to be she's actually a great secretary.
She's the perfect
Yeah,
secretary
right.
for a big place like that. Just
so-
like she's a bimbo, but I think women are bimbos, and
Right.
But after
Let it happen.
being inept and inappropriate, she is on her game now.
Totally,
Yeah.
It's kind of cool to
And
watch.
also has her back when Hobart comes in there. Where is he? She's like, oh, I don't know. I'm not concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, but I'm quite concerned.
She
but I know
loves
not
him.
to tell you. Yeah. Right, she loves him. Right, yeah.
McLeod.
The right, Dennis Weaver. Right.
Peggy's watching McLeod.
Peggy
I
was
just wanted to
watching
throw that
McLeod.
in there.
Yeah.
watching McLeod.
Yes.
Wow.
NBC Sunday Mystery.
You're too young for
Oh,
McLeod.
how about
McLeod,
Don?
McMillan and wife, and Police Story? Was
no,
that separate?
Banachek. There were a bunch of
Banachek,
them. Yeah.
But then also there was that scene with Don and Peggy, or Don and
Joan.
Betty.
Oh, Don and Betty, right? Where
Yes,
she's reading
Freud. Dora.
She's reading Dora, right? Which I guess we could spend an hour talking
Yeah,
about
that's
of
a
why,
whole
of why
other-
he chose to read her, but we'll skip that. But anyway, and they had that moment, and again, Don knew, like, no,
No,
I'm not.
It was
And
nice.
so,
It's
and
sort
so
of
does
nice.
she, though.
so does she, right? They both know. Yeah.
Yeah, and they had a moment where they were in a kitchen saying, "When do the kids get home?"
That's right. That's right.
And that is as family as they have ever been and
Right.
will,
And we'll ever
be.
get. Yeah.
Oh, that kills me. Because I'm just waiting for these people to pair up with each other, like you do at the end of a show.
Right. And we're gonna get a lot of ambiguity here. We're not gonna get
Yeah.
any, but and there, of course, there's that terrifying moment. Maybe he did that because there's that school of thought that it's Don falling out the window that Matt Weiner's essentially said that's not
That's
it.
like him, yeah.
But nonetheless, we still get he taps the windows, and that's
Yeah.
he was going like.
And there was also, did anyone else hear like the faint whistling of wind coming
Yeah,
in?
like that was. He
it's-
was
Oh,
so high up and so not well glazed enough that when he pressed it, the wind would stop, and then when he let go, they'd come back.
Ugh, crazy.
Yeah.
Which again, part of his escape.
So two more.
Nuts.
I think we're done with Joan. I don't think we'll see Joan again. I think we've. It was good to see, good to see my new best friend because I interviewed him at the TCM Film Festival, Robert Morse.
Oh yes,
Get a little special
yes,
appearance.
that was
You like to
lovely.
be the stranger, he said to him. Oh, and that guy
And quoting on the road.
and Don's and Diana's creepy.
Mackenzie Aston, who I was like,
That
I
was
know
that
that guy.
actor?
I know the guy. That was Mackenzie
That's
Aston.
the husband.
Yeah. From the Garbage Pail Kids.
He was right. He was
Brother of Sean.
perceptive, but in the end bizarre.
Yeah.
And Don again, honest, like never got mad at him. He's like, yeah, I'm worried about her. Like, aren't
Yeah.
but suggesting that that other men have somehow
Yeah,
fallen into-
that's a whole other kettle of fish too. So
Yeah.
we'll see where that goes.
Anyway, obviously great stuff. Thanks for watching, everybody. Back next week.